So I wanted to address this comment. It was left on a previous video in which I said I'm actually a bit glad to see the end of DEI. Just to give some context and some definitions, when I talk about DEI specifically, I'm talking about the invention of 2020 that happened kind of after the BLM/George Floyd protests. I'm specifically talking about that iteration of DEI. I am someone that's personally all for diversity and inclusion when it comes to workspaces and education. I am someone that was very involved in mentoring junior students of color, Black and Hispanic, minority, underrepresented. Even as a postdoc, I had a boss that was not very receptive to going out and volunteering, but I would sneak away and teach younger students in high school how to present data and how to make a scientific presentation. There was one point where I didn't have a car and I took a bus, a train, and took a walk 2 hours, literally 2 hours, to give a 10-minute talk to a Black Engineering Students Association in the Bay Area. I sat with them afterwards and talked to them about their goals and like how I went about getting my degree and some of the things that inspired me, because that is how dedicated I am to that. So I just wanted to give that caveat. I'm not against DEI because I think it's useless or a waste of time, but there are some problems with the way corporate DEI is executed. So what I've seen in my experience is that DEI has been used to make essentially figureheads and tokens out of Black people or people of color that are in these spaces. So a lot of companies or institutions that are not for diversity and inclusion, that do treat people unfairly, that do have issues with discrimination, will go and get a DEI officer or some DEI figurehead and say, look, we are not prejudiced in any way because we've installed this figurehead to act as a token and essentially as a human shield against criticism. Furthermore, the problem with DEI as it's practiced in that context is that it doesn't get to the root of the issue of inequity. So to me, if you really want to correct a lot of these problems, you have to start in the school system. You have to start young. You have to start even before school. Just because like the kids that have the best chance in life are kids that learned how to read before they even got to kindergarten or had some of these like preliminary exposures that allow them to get to a place where they are competitive in society. So for me, it seems that a lot of DEI initiatives were a way to just say, okay, we've given you something, shut up now, without getting to the root cause of some of these inequities. It was the lazy way out. It was the easy way out. And the unintended consequence of it, and in some cases, I think probably intentional consequences, were that these shields were put up, and when people turned against DEI, it gave like a very visible person to hate on or to point at. And like if you were underrepresented in some of these spaces, it kind of turned into this instance of you were kind of questioned without anyone saying anything to say, is this person really here because they're competitive, or are they just a DEI hire? But I know from my personal experience that a DEI hire and someone that's qualified, these are not mutually exclusive terms. When I was a graduate student, I won fellowships. I won the most prestigious award for a graduate student in my university system, not just the university, the system. I won like a dean's research scholarship. I had the best dissertation. I got tons of money. I went to conferences, et cetera, et cetera. Like the list goes on and on. When I got into my postdoc, I was part of like an inclusion program, but I'm the type of person that even if that program didn't exist, they would have taken me anyway. But because DEI has been so mismanaged and has been used as a shield, it kind of puts almost like a bullet on the back of someone that is an underrepresented minority that's in these spaces. Another issue that I've seen with DEI in the post-2020 world is that a lot of institutions that are not, like I said, about actually mentorship and reaching out, community outreach, put up these DEI initiatives for people that in some cases don't even need it, or it shouldn't even be targeted to, so that just so they can say they have plausible deniability and they're doing something of importance for the community. So I remember in my postdoc, I had a very unforgiving boss. He was tough. He was all about the data, all about the science, all about the work. He did not like extracurriculars in terms of volunteering, science outreach, etc. I did that stuff on my own, and eventually I started to have even issues with that particular boss. But because, I was in this DEI program, it was like, oh, there's no issues as far as these very toxic PIs. And this is, if you're in higher level academia, like a Harvard, a Stanford, some of these like world renowned institutions, there's a big problem with feudal, I'm going to call them like feudal fiefdom type setups in these like departments where some of these PIs just want to control your life. They don't want you to do anything. So like you have these type of negativities going on, but they put this veneer of DEI, inclusion, outreach, and understanding to give them cover for some of the negative things that they're doing on the back end. So I hope this clarifies my point of view. I am not against inclusion. Like I said, I will travel to any ends of the earth to mentor anyone. Even when I left the state of Texas and I was pursuing my life in California, I had students at the previous institution reach out to me and say, hey, can you read this proposal? Can you give me feedback on this? Can we jump on a call? Even to this day, people still contact me for like career advice. So I am all about that individually, but I am not someone that likes the easy way out. And I think DEI gave an easy way out to a lot of institutions that were not about outreach, and they were not about actual uplift for the people at the bottom. It doesn't mean anything if you have some one token DEI coordinator or representative when there's thousands, millions of people that need education, access, and all of these things that would actually make a benefit and inclusion in society. So I hope that clears it up, and thank you for your comment. Okay, so I'm back. I specifically address what you said about being horrified with the end of DEI. I do agree that it's horrifying in one instance because what facilitated its end was actually a hatred and a pushback, in my opinion, against inclusion and diversity. So that portion I do agree with you with. I just think that like one of the I'm glad it's gone for the unintended consequences and what it caused and how it was mismanaged. But I feel a lot of the drive, especially from middle America, for the end of DEI was driven by fear, confusion. It was misrepresented heavily in right-wing and conservative media. And that portion is scary because what the DEI push, when it was executed incorrectly, was it created enemies out of a lot of people unfairly. And that portion is scary and it is horrifying because in my opinion, it very much looks like a FU and you are not important here for people that are underrepresented. And I think that case is easily made when you saw that as soon as February 1 came out, while the White House issued a statement talking about Black History Month, Pete Hegseth was so ecstatic to say that, oh, we're canceling basically all identity-focused celebrations in the DOD. So no Jewish history, no Remembrance Day, no Black History Month, no Asian Pacific, no Hispanic, no women, et cetera, et cetera. So that part is scary because it wasn't just a cancellation of DEI as a corporate shield, but a cancellation of basically people that fall into underrepresented groups. I agree 100% with you on that.